Evening.
We'll just give everyone a couple of minutes to sign in, and then we'll kick off in a little bit.
It's like a power meeting. You should be like, "Hello from New York," and everybody check in from where they're calling in from. There's so many people on.
I love it. This is amazing.
I see Norway in the house. Very nice. Very nice.
You're in the house. Hello.
Hello, my friend.
Hi, hi.
Oh, like Christmas.
All right, I think we can kick off, everyone. We'll continue to let people in throughout the tutorial, but just as a note, if you could keep yourselves on mute, and then any questions you have, feel free to raise your hand, put it in the chat, and we'll get to it when we can, and we'll also reserve time at the end of the call for any questions as well. All right, let's dive right in. You can go to the next slide. All right. Well, welcome from Magrino, everyone. We are so excited to kick off the 2025 Miracle and Sippin Salmon season with all of you. For all of those who may be new this year, we are Magrino, your PR partners, and very excited to work with you this year. Our role is to make sure you're supported every step of the way, whether that's through press tools, media guidance, or resources to help your bar shine during the busiest, most festive time of the year. Think of us as your behind-the-scene elves, working to make sure your story is heard far and wide. Sorry, just letting some more people in. So working together. So since 2017, Team Magrino has been proud to lead media relations for Miracle and Sippin Salmon across the US and Canada. Our number one priority is securing national press coverage that puts these brands on the map every holiday season. But just as important is making sure your individual bar gets noticed locally, so guests in your community and tourists traveling through know how and where exactly to find you. Every participating bar who fills out a questionnaire will be assigned a dedicated Magrino point of contact. That person will be your go-to, whether to discuss a story angle or guidance on how to make the most of an opportunity. We're here to make sure you guys feel supported and set up for success this entire season. Fabulous. So what's sale about? This tutorial is really designed to give you the full playbook for PR success this season. We'll start by walking through what Magrino handles on your behalf, from national headlines to regional coverage, so you know exactly what's being done behind the scenes. We'll also outline what your role looks like in supporting these efforts, the small but really important things that you guys can do on the ground that really help maximize results. From there, we'll dig into best practices, how to work with media, how to capture visuals that get picked up, and how to make sure coverage really pops. The goal here is really simple, to set everyone up for success so you feel confident, prepared, and ready to make the most of the season. And of course, we'll leave plenty of time, as I mentioned before, to answer any questions you may have along the way. All right, so Magrino's role, here's where we came in. We act as the official spokesperson for the Miracle and Sippin Salmon brands amongst media. Our job is to really protect the integrity of the story at that national level, while also making sure your bar is represented locally and regionally. As I mentioned earlier, every partner bar is assigned a Magrino point of contact. That person is your go-to for anything PR related, from fielding media requests, answering questions, preparing media briefs, and really just making sure you feel prepared for any and all media interaction. On that media side, our priority is always securing national brand coverage in top outlets, but equally important, we lead local and regional outlets on your behalf, with the goal of at least one guaranteed placement per location, but typically often much, much more. Behind the scenes, we are developing and distributing press materials, pitching Miracle and Sippin Salmon as cultural holiday destinations, and equipping you with the media guidance and resources you need. And finally, when national requests come in, we will handle those directly here at Magrino. For regional and local requests, we'll coordinate closely with you and your team to make sure that your team is represented in the best possible way. Hand it over to Kate.
Great. I can dive in here on a little bit about your role and the on-the-ground support that you can provide to us here at Magrino. So first, we do ask that you share, accurate and up-to-date details with us before your bar opens this season. So we're looking for things like operating hours, any programming, special events, or charity tie-ins. I know you answered a lot of this in the PR questionnaire that you filled out, but again, if there's any updates or changes throughout the season, just feel free to send our way. This is, we want to make sure we have everything that we need to pitch out your story to your, respective markets. So again, we know that you might not have all of that finalized right now. It seems like Christmas is far away. It's actually 100 days out from today. So what we do is we typically begin pitching around, mid to late October. So as you start to finalize those details, feel free to, send them to us. And we'd love to include that in our initial outreach. So next, we ask that everyone does stay on top of deadlines and press needs. So if media requests come in, please try to respond to Magrino as quickly as possible so we can really keep that momentum going. If any urgent media requests do come through and we can't reach you over email, we'll be sure to give you a phone call. Sometimes we have some last minute broadcast interviews that might come through and, a segment drops out and they want to do something in 3 hours. So, we do have all points of contact. So we'll be sure to we reach you so we can get you the best opportunities possible. And then, when these interviews are requested, we do ask that you be ready and available. So of course, we'll handle prep and coordination, with the journalists, provide any questions that we might get ahead of time, but we do recommend coming to these interviews prepared, with talking points specifically about your location, but as well as, the brand so that you really feel comfortable and confident during these media interviews. We also think it's important that every team member is ready to welcome media influencers, whether that's scheduled or not. Of course, Magrino will help coordinate these media visits, but sometimes media, prefer to drop in on their own unannounced. So just making sure that your team is prepared, knows how to speak to the Miracle and Sippin Santa brands and, knows, about all of the cocktails and such. We also ask that you send over great photos and short videos of the decor that's in your bar. So we do, of course, have the professional photos of the cocktails, but, one request that we find that we get a lot from these regional and local media is what does this specific, location look like inside? You all decorate your bars, very uniquely and different. So, we really want to make sure that we're highlighting that for your location and all the hard work that you really put into those decorations. And we want to make sure that shines and just really showing the media what that overall guest experience is going to be like at your bar. So again, most requested content. So if it's your first year, smartphones take really great photos these days as well. So just capturing that as well. And then once that coverage starts rolling in, we ask that, help us amplify that by posting the coverage on your social channels. This will really help spread that buzz even further, highlight you again that you're getting media coverage, and then really show your existing customers and audience that you're getting a lot of attention, that they'll want to make their reservations and head in as soon as possible. And finally, if you have any local media contacts or relationships, we do ask that you pass those along to your Magrino contact. Again, if you'd like to lead any of that communication, that's absolutely okay. Or if you'd prefer to loop us into any conversations or, just pass along their contact information to us, we're happy to share all that info and make sure they get what they need. We just, I think at the end of the day, don't want to duplicate any efforts and make sure we help you out as much as possible. Amazing. And then, how can we work together? So Magrino is really going to be leading that outreach to the media, both on a national level and then, of course, to each of your local regions. This means that we'll be handling pitching the stories, talking to the media, coordinating all these media interviews and press opportunities. And then your role, as a partner bar is to really provide all of those pieces that bring these stories to life. So things like, again, great photos, details on your events, access to interviews and photo shoots and any live broadcast shoots as well. And, these assets and on the ground insight that you guys can provide us that maybe we don't have privy to really make all of that coverage possible. And then when we combine all of this efforts, we're really ensuring that every location is getting that consistent PR support throughout the entire seasons. And we're also telling a story that, feels special and unique to each location and to your specific pop-up. At the same time, keeping that Miracle and Sippin Santa messaging front and center so it kind of all ties back to that larger brand story and sounds cohesive. And so let's talk about how, we can really make that shine with our local media with some best practices. So, for a quick overview, every single media touch point really is important here, whether that's an email request, an interview, a photo shoot, or an on-site visit from a press person. This is really a chance for you to show off your, Miracle or Sippin Santa location and what how yours is special to your specific community. These interactions, they're definitely more than just coverage opportunity. It's really a moment to make sure that you're sharing your story about the history of your bar, whether you've been doing this, it's your first year or, your fourth year. It really helps show that personality behind the experience as well. And that is, really important to the local media. And again, why that matters is the local media outlets are really they're the ones that drive that foot traffic for you and really help build excitement for your bar. So again, that's why we kind of start that outreach a little bit ahead of your opening so that we can, try and amplify that people are getting excited about your bar opening in November. And then again, just another way for you to highlight why it's unique in your city. And so who are we trying to reach here in our local and regional contacts? We're really looking for those local lifestyle writers, people who are covering food and drink, entertainment, but also, those neighborhood publications who are, your weekly newspapers, who are your local broadcast stations, any, regional magazines, community news outlets. Those are really, the key audiences, especially broadcast morning shows. Those can be really impactful during the holiday season. We know, some of you might not have experience doing that, but that's what, this tutorial is for, to hopefully help you speak a little bit about, the brand and your bar as a whole. And again, the bottom line is, every media interaction is an opportunity to create buzz and invite your neighbors in your community in to visit and really experience that magic. So we hope we can make each one count.
Perfect. And then for local media best practices, these are just some ways for you to support us, to support you, get some really great coverage. So first, be responsive when we send over media requests, whether it's a journalist asking for a quote or trying to schedule an interview. Timeliness really does matter. The media landscape in general is just a very fast-paced environment, but the holidays especially, journalists are on very tight deadlines. They have a lot of assignments during this season. So just the quicker you can reply to give us the assets we need, the better chance we have of securing some great coverage for your location. I know Kate had touched on this earlier, but just keeping details current. If there are any changes to your location, just keep us apprised of all of those updates, just to make sure we're giving media the most accurate information we can. Be interview ready. There may be some interview opportunities that come your way. When this does happen, we'll provide you with a briefing document, which will provide some background on the specific journalist who's interested in speaking with you, their media outlet, some suggested talking points, and a sampling of their interview questions or the story angle topic. And we'll dive into some more interview do's and don'ts a little later on in the presentation as well. And then host with care. If press or influencers are coming into your space, just treat them special, make them feel welcome, make them feel like they're, a VIP guest. Make sure you're offering them complimentary cocktails or items from your menu, especially if your location is making some special holiday themed additions to your menu. This is a really great opportunity to showcase that to media. And then finally, share your story. Don't be shy about what makes your location unique and special. Are there certain, maybe annual events your location does that your community absolutely loves? Is there something, special your internal team does? Do you shut down your bar for a whole day and play, holiday music and decorate the whole space? Anything that makes your location really unique and really special to your community. Perfect. And then just for interview preparation, some best practices. It's all about the holiday season and holiday cheer. So be upbeat, be festive. It's super joyful and over the top experience that's really created to, spread joy and happiness. So, the way you speak should really match that vibe. So, just try to add some holiday cheer, just like you do at your bar to your guests. And then you also want to balance mentions of the brand and the bar. So it is important to mention Miracle and Sippin Santa, when you can, when you're speaking about your location. But as I mentioned, don't be shy to really emphasize, some unique details that really make your location stand out. Keep it simple and guest focused. There's no need to overcomplicate things. Really try to focus on what your guests really care about when they come into your space. So, the amazing cocktails, the insane immersive decor, the holiday mugs, anything of that sort. I don't know why my camera went off. Just let your passion for hospitality and, inviting guests into your space, just let that really shine through. And then stay on topic. When you're talking to media, just try to stay on track. Try to think about, some main talking points, the cocktails, the decor, try to avoid going off topic or, diving into unrelated details and such. Just try to keep it light, festive, upbeat, and on brand. And then we just have some sample questions outlined here. So what makes your Miracle or Sippin' Santa special? What's your personal favorite cocktail on the menu, etc. So these are some questions that we find to receive, every year. So just think about how you would answer these in your own words. Keep it conversational. Try to appear confident and polished, but don't worry about, being perfect. Just be authentic. Be yourself, talk as if, you were talking to a friend about how much you love, your location in this, time of year. Great. And then these are some do's and don'ts for interviews. These are very simple, but they do make a pretty huge difference in how you come across. So I know some of these I did touch on, but smile, always smile, even if you're on the phone, even if you're, on Zoom with an interviewer, just try to smile and be upbeat because it really does change your tone. And just try to keep your answers to the point and concise as possible. And just, don't forget to mention Miracle or Sippin. And make sure you share visuals and fun details about your location, especially if a media person can't physically come into your location. You want to make sure you paint a very detailed picture for them so they really understand, what your location is all about. You want to make them feel as though they're a guest enjoying the experience so they could really put together that really nice full story. Be mindful of body language, be mindful of your posture. Just try to stand or, sit confidently, make eye contact with the person, be present and speak clearly. It's okay to take a beat, take a breath, talk slowly, and just try to be, upbeat and easy to understand. Ideally, select a quiet location to conduct this interview, just so you have that really one-on-one time with the journalist. And then familiarize yourself with the outlet, the journalist. So is it, a reporter coming from a daytime show? Is it, someone from a local newspaper who, covers spirits or covers events? Just make sure you really familiarize yourself with the journalist. Look at some of their recent work, and we'll, of course, when we coordinate interview opportunities for you, we will put together a document with this information. And just go through it, just review it. So, you know who you're speaking to and the key points that you'll really want to hone in on. And then listen actively. So just make sure you're listening. It's great to have, answers prepared, but don't just, follow a script in your head. Make sure you're actively listening because there will be sometimes spontaneous questions that come up. So you just want to make sure you're really actively listening. And say thank you and invite them in. If they're sending a reporter or a crew or whatever it may be, just make sure you invite them in, let them have a cocktail, let them have a bite to eat, just let them enjoy the experience. And it just shows that you're grateful for the opportunity. So a few don'ts, don't mention, competitors or internal details about your location. Really try to keep the focus on your space, your guest experience. Avoid commenting on other holiday bars or other holiday pop-ups or anything that's, really behind the scenes, really business focused. It's just not really the right moment for that. So try to keep it, really guest experience focused. Don't wear busy patterns unless branded. Miracle and Sippin Santa attire is totally fine, but just try to avoid really busy patterns like polka dots, loud prints. It just comes across as really distracting, and you want people to focus on what you're saying versus what you're wearing. And then just don't use any unapproved brands or props. Just really try to showcase the glassware, the Miracle decor, anything that isn't really a part of, the overall brand. Just try to avoid that just to make sure our coverage is cohesive.
Right, managing press visits. So throughout our local outreach, our team will receive requests from media to visit your bar. Once we receive a request and we feel that it would be beneficial to host the journalist, we'll coordinate with your bar team to schedule a visit. Once a press visit is confirmed, it's important to make sure that all staff working during the time frame is prepared. We recommend showing them a photo of the guest, sharing articles written by them in the past, and making sure that they're aware of the outlet that they're writing for. We also highly recommend providing at least one complimentary cocktail, as we've mentioned, and or a small bite in exchange for coverage. So as we are approached with requests, our team will present all opportunities with your bar and provide you with a recommendation on if you should host them or not. We know that this time of year is going to be very busy for you all, especially as we get closer to Christmas. So we'll be sure to confirm a date and time that works best for you and the journalist. And something we would also like to note is that while Magrino does not handle proactive influencer outreach, if we do receive any inbound requests to visit your bar, we will be sure to vet them and pass along any that we feel that would provide beneficial social coverage for you guys. And then again, influencers, we also recommend providing a complimentary cocktail in exchange for an Instagram story or in-feed post tagging your bar. We also highly suggest reposting what they put onto Instagram or collabing with their posts if and when possible. Visual representation is very important. The decorated interiors are what make the brand unique aside from the crafted cocktails and mugs. So we highly recommend using our professional Miracle and Sippin Santa photos when possible on social media and capturing any photos either professionally or with your personal phone of your space once it's fully decorated. Photos are always our #1 request that we get from media when they're interested in covering your space. So please share those images with your Magrino rep and we can include those images in our pitching. And when capturing your own imagery, we recommend capturing images within a tight frame in a well-lit area, action shots of your bartenders making the cocktails, or images of your guests enjoying your space are also great and highly recommended. We also encourage everyone to tag your bar and use hashtags when possible. So if you see your guests interacting with the cocktails, taking photos and posting, definitely encourage them to do that as well. And it will allow you to repost what they are sharing on social media and spread the word even more. And partner bar regional amplification. So driving regional amplification is key for your holiday pop-up bar. It's going to build local buzz, attract foot traffic, and extend brand visibility across neighboring communities. And there are a lot of ways to help spread the word about your partner bar throughout the season. We recommend collaborating with local organizations, tapping into local holiday events such as festivals or markets, hosting preview nights or tastings, and leveraging social media as much as possible. We highly recommend sharing behind the scenes content of your bartender making the drinks on your socials, just to build that awareness and get people to visit your bar from near and far. Great. And as Lily said, resources and support as the Miracle and Sippin Santa partner bars this year, you have access to all of these that we've outlined below. First up is the PR toolkit. In there, you'll find everything you need to get started, including the 2025 press release, a pitch template you can personalize, and cocktail photography that's ready for use in press, social posts, or any promotional materials. We have all of the polished on-brand assets right at your fingertips with the these links. Next is the contact sheet. Every location has a Magrino point person, so you'll always know exactly who to reach out to. Right now, our team includes everyone you've heard speak today, and we'll be adding even more people as we get closer to opening season, so you'll never be without support. Then we have the FAQ document. This is basically your cheat sheet. It tells you who to go to for what. For example, Magrino handles things like media outreach, inbound press requests, and influencer visits, where Miracle HQ covers things like glassware questions, logistics, and partner portal access. Most importantly, just know we're here to help in any way throughout the season, and if you need us for anything, you have all of our emails and reach out.
So we wanted to share a few of the most frequently asked questions that usually come up throughout the Miracle and Sippin Santa season. These are things we hear every season, so it's definitely helpful to cover them up front. One of the big ones is, how often can I expect to hear from Magrino? So what we'll do is we will connect with you for an initial intro call, and then you'll hear from us throughout the season as media placements come in or if we get specific requests. Another common question is, if my PR agency gets a national media inquiry, what should they do? So in that case, the best thing is for your PR contact to forward it directly to your Magrino contact and to the shared email alias we have here, miracle@magrinopr.com. And then from there, we can step in and take over communication. We also get asked if we can staff media interviews. So if it's a phone interview, we can staff it depending on the opportunity. But for in-person interviews or TV tapings, we typically don't staff those. But what we do is we make sure you have all the information that you need ahead of time to fully prepare. Finally, if my bar already has a PR team, what can they handle? Magrino handles all national media outreach, and your local PR agency can manage anything at the local level. Of course, these are just a few of the big frequently asked questions that we hear, but if anything else pops up throughout the season, we're always here to help and to talk it through.
Fabulous. So would love to kind of open up the floor for any immediate questions from anyone at this time. And it's okay if there's nothing. You'll be in touch with your PR representative from Magrino soon to go over anything directly, but we share.
Shannon, I'm going to jump in and say
Yeah.
hi to everybody. I'm Joanne Spiegel, Vice President of MCI. I have my team on here as well, Nick and Brandy, who will give a shout out in a second. You know, not only have you probably everyone on the call talked to me at some stage if you are new, and we'll be talking to Brandy and Nick throughout and the Magrino teams. I'm also an operator of New York locations that I have to activate myself each year. So I treat Magrino, you know, even though I'm a decade doing this, every year I come on as it's a fresh time doing it each year. Who on my team do I have to plug in? Do I have to arrange a media night? So a decade in, I'm still doing things like having media nights within my space in New York, still trying to wine and dine the influencers or media that I can come in to not only showcase the brand, but showcase the individual locations. So Shannon, can you speak to that as well? Is there merit organizing what Miracle on 9th does, the cabinet, every year to have these media nights? Is there value for our first-year partners or sixth-year partners to doing this every year to kind of, I guess, nurture those type of relationships, you know, at the start of the season?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would highly recommend, you know, looking at the earlier part when you do open. And we find that, you know, hosting this media and preview night allows you to kind of host everyone all at once rather than worrying about individual visits throughout the season. It really, everyone's so busy. You know, there's Thanksgiving, there's holiday parties, there's wrapping up work. People are leaving early to go on vacation. So really by organizing these previews, you're creating that insider exclusive experience for them, number one, and giving them that VIP treatment, but also ensuring that they've already touched Miracle. They're here and it's the early part of your season. So now it's all about coverage from that point on. It's not chasing people to come in and visit 3 weeks after opening, because we do know while you guys work so hard for so long, it is a tight turnaround when the bars are actually open. So for us, when we do it at Miracle, really offers the opportunity to, number one, showcase that we want to treat these media and influencers like our special guests, that we value them very much as people can share our story. And it enables us also to lock in that coverage much earlier on rather than having to focus on peppering in throughout the season, which of course we will still do, and we'll still work with individual bars because, as we all know, not everyone can make one date. But for us, we find it extremely worthy, whether new or 6 years old. Offering that experience, it's become much more of a cluttered space year and year, and from everything that goes on the holidays. So anything that you can do to really showcase media, how important they are, we always think is well worth it.
It's definitely worth it from the operation sides as well, because once we're past that first week, our reservations fill up. So it becomes an impossible request. And then having to turn down journalists or turn down successful influencers, let's call them, and say, like, sorry, we cannot physically fit you into our space. I find hitting it with the media nights definitely softens that those numbers that you might naturally hit if you just let them kind of come at will. So it definitely helps manage that. And then, like you said, we can treat them like VIPs and actually spend some time getting to know them and reading the cheat sheets that Magrino helped put together. Because then I go and I get busy and I follow all these accounts online so that when they do post us, your account then has a heads up of who you're meant to like, who you're meant to repost, who you're meant to tag in, and the optics grow. That's the name of the game, and that's why we're doing this. To be able to not just promote the brands, it's promoting your individual locations out there. So these type of opportunities, I find over the years, I didn't really understand them at the start of just like, oh, it's just another event to get through. But it's the work that happens after these media nights or these media opportunities is, yeah, doing your homework, following the accounts, making sure that you're reposting their stuff and tagging them in, from the interviewer to the photographer, whatever information you can. It's all about the optics of resharing that so that your visibility grows and the brand grows. Any questions out there, guys, for Shannon and her team?
I have two questions. This is David from Miami. It's our first time doing this, and you may have already covered it. But number one, I noticed some bars start their own handle specifically for this event, and some bars add it to their already existing handle. Do you have a recommendation one way or the other? I know social is not part of what we're discussing, but that question came to mind.
Yeah, we do recommend having your own handle and cross promoting it on multiple channels. But some people choose to, like you said, do their own promotion on the single page and change it over. It really is whatever individually works best for the operator at the end of the day. But I find for building brand awareness, it's good to have multiple sources to cross promote. So building your own pace, obviously if it's year one, the numbers are going to look small. You just have to start somewhere and build it up. But it gives you, I think, more of a reach and an opportunity to share it on different channels and to widen your reach that are, you're kind of sharing it with your existing crowd, yes, on your existing channels, but widening the net to the Christmas goers when they're searching these handles and searching these hashtags and whatnot will definitely widen your visibility. We find.
Got it. Understood. And then I guess my second question is, I've heard, I mean, I know every bar does it differently and every bar has different formula, but I've heard several times that the reservation system works best, whether it's through a reservation system like Open Table or Seven Rooms or Resi. Is that what most of your participants recommend, is to make it a ticketed event with
David,
reservations?
I'm going to put this onto the first year webinar that will focus on our heavy discussions on that and on our pages, so we don't, because I can go for like the next 30 minutes on that subject.
Understood.
We will leave it for the first year webinar, and then
Thank you.
on our forums and on our Facebook pages, we'll get heavily into these nitty-gritty conversations that I love. But like specifically for PR, guys, as well, what I find every year is the mammoth numbers of national press that Magrino secure every year for the brand. And I am blue in the face from telling operators every year, each national story is a story for your location. You should be sharing it as if it is a story for your location. So the same formula of approach of tagging in whether it's Bloomberg magazine, whether it's Time Out, whatever it is, tagging that in, tagging the thing and saying, hey, shout out to the national, because if they address the entire organization, you're in that. So it's using your savvy and using the noise that the Miracle brand is and piggybacking on that, tagging in your own locations and getting it out there. So I think the national press is just as equally as important as your individual when they focus just on your account, but always shake the tree, always make the noise. There is a huge focus on our brand in the earlier months of September, October, when people start, seeking the seasonal entertainment, and you'll get inundated with media opportunities that come in you fast and furious. And just like people looking to make reservations, if they don't find somewhere easy to do such, they move on. So what Magrino was saying at the start of this call and this presentation is your response time is super important across the board, right? For us, the Miracle team, but even more so for these are hangry customers that are knocking on your door and your door is closed, they're going to move on to the next place, right? So same as with journalists, they usually are working with a deadline. So if something comes in, say, hey, we have this by the end of the week, get it done by the end of the day if you can, squeeze it out so that they have it on their laptop in front of them, pictures of your location, pictures of your staff, pictures of your cocktails, or pictures that we've sent you through the assets. Just be ready to strike and, to really engage those opportunities so that you have a new friend that is a journalist that is so impressed by the speed of your response time, because that's what they're looking for. You won't hear from them after, if you need to put an edit in, they're the hardest ones to get, but when they want your attention, you can move fast and really get it and build that relationship with them. And like Magrino said, if you're just having a conversation on the phone with a journalist, make it out like you're selling your little experience, via Miracle, via Sipping Santa, but it's your location, and sell that on the phone and always invite them in at the end of it. Like, oh, so sorry, this is the phone. Make sure you stop by when you're in town or when you're passing. Just engage that familiarity so that they're, leading with your story, leading with your imagery. There is just ample opportunity that the Miracle and Sipping brand will present through this forum this season. Any other questions, guys?
Beautifully said, Joanne. Thank you. Didn't say it better myself.
Joe, there's one question in the chat which I can take on, not necessarily specific to PR, but just about music and the location. And the question is whether or not we suggest using playlists, live music, or DJs. So if I'm not going to assume that this is coming from a first year partner. Apologies if I don't recognize your name. Hi, my name is Nick. I head up operations, so you'll be hearing a lot from me from this point on through the season if we haven't already spoken. So we will definitely cover that on the first year partner webinar. We do have official playlists for both Miracle and Sippin Santa that the owner of the company very proudly curates and updates every year. So they are Spotify playlists that we will be sharing with you shortly. We'll post them up on the partner portals. Generally speaking, recorded playlists would be the recommendation, as it doesn't interrupt the flow of the evening, keeps the focus on the atmosphere and the cocktails and all the great things that you guys execute in your venues. Obviously, with certain special events are obviously a great way of driving PR for your location. So we have had an example, our Las Vegas partners, I believe last year, set up a whole outdoor Christmas disco setup, and they bring in DJs, and they had this incredible big inflatable disco tent that they would host events in. So that would be an example where maybe a DJ or band might be a great fit. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that on some of the other webinars, which we'll touch on in just a sec before we wrap up here. Did we have any other questions here?
PR questions.
Yeah,
I know there's loads and loads of questions, but PR.
Well, I know we have the social media webinar next week. But if anything's not top of mind, please share with us at any time. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions at all. We're always here to help.
Cool. So with that, maybe I'll just touch a little bit on the social media webinar and some of the other exciting initiatives we have going on over the next couple of weeks. A lot of you know Magrino as our PR arm. You might not know, but Magrino also represents Miracle from a social media, digital marketing perspective as well. So they've created content calendars that we'll be sharing with all of you shortly. And next week on September 24th at 2 p.m., we have our social media webinar. So this webinar is going to obviously complement all of the sort of traditional PR stuff and move it into a digital space. It's going to show you how to use the content calendar that we, alongside with Magrino, have developed for this year, and then give you some tips and tricks and best practices for how to market your venue on social media through the season. Beyond that, if you haven't already seen, so we've got those first two webinars with Magrino, and then we have a number of additional webinars over the next couple of weeks that we did want to touch on real quick just today. For those of you who are first-year partners, and I know there's actually quite a few of you in this chat today, thank you so much for joining us. We have a first-year only webinar that we'll be hosting on September 30th. And this is going to cover obviously all the mandatory stuff that you need to do as a partner to stay on the nice list with us through the season, but also is going to cover a lot of those tactical questions like music and atmosphere and how do we, get set up for success for our first season. So we're going to cover that. And shortly thereafter, we have brand specific webinars. So one for Miracle, one for Sippin Santa, that will cover the menu in great detail. So on the Miracle one, Joanne is going to go through with Brandy's and my assistants, cocktail by cocktail, every drink on the menu this year, flavor, tips, tricks, substitutions, everything that you need to know. And then for our Sippin Santa partners, we have Jeff Beachbumberry that'll be joining us for our webinar on October 2nd. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes off to a separate screen here. And same thing, he'll be going through everything that you need to know to execute the Sippin Santa menu for this year. So the social media webinar information will be shared on the partner portal shortly with you. Along with that, we have had some questions about whether or not the content from this recording will be shared. Of course, it will. The recording of this session, along with the PDF of the presentation that the Magrino team walked us through, will be posted to the partner portal shortly as well. That's it for me. So, Joe.
Yeah, that's everything, guys. So, and as the webinars come up, just make sure you familiarize yourself with the written content that lives inside the portal, right? So all new operators and personnel out there, by now you should have read and digested the welcome packets, the brand guides, the recipe manuals. The webinars are to an accompaniment of that, to kind of help people that, like myself, that don't always absorb just through the written word. The webinars are going to be more conversational and be able to get into the nitty-gritty and like I said, talk about atmosphere and music and reservations and things like that, and nerd out from operator to operator, bartender to bartender. So make sure you plug your team into those upcoming webinars as well, but really digest the information so that you are coming from an informed place, that you'll be able to really command your presence within these webinars and ask questions live, rather than thinking about them 3 weeks later when it's go time saying, shit, I should have asked that question. This will be your opportunity to really engage the entire team and the entire network. And that's it for me, guys.
Thank everyone so much for joining with an amazing group. Really excited to see this turn out. And we'll be in touch with all of you very soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.